American engineers build aircraft for bulletproof simplicity and maintenance anywhere with basic tools. European designers obsess over aerodynamic perfection and technology that makes older pilots feel young again. 10 aircraft, 2 continents, completely opposite approaches to what makes the perfect personal airplane for your ultimate flying journey. American or European design philosophy? This is American versus European. Which light sport wins the battle? The most famous light amphibian of recent years was designed for maximum operational freedom rather than raw speed. The Icon A5 uses a 100 horsepower Rotax 912 engine mounted in pusher configuration above the fuselage, driving a deep V hull capable of takeoff and landing on lakes, reservoirs, or rivers with moderate wave action. Folding wings allow significant width reduction for compact storage and trailer transport, something rare in certified aircraft. Maximum weight stays within light sport aircraft category limits, and the high aspect ratio wing, efficient flaps, and well-rounded leading edge maintain stall around 39 knots in landing configuration. Composite structure combines materials used in high-performance boats with aeronautical construction techniques, resulting in a rigid and relatively light hull for an amphibian. Simple retractable landing gear allows alternating between land and water operations without overly complex hydraulic systems. The panel typically comes with multifunction display, angle of attack indicator in prominent position and on many units, whole airframe ballistic parachute. Design philosophy prioritizes protection against loss of control at low speed with stall envelope and maneuverability conceived for pilots with limited experience. In terms of performance, the A5 typically cruises around 85 knots. This is not an aircraft designed across continents, but to explore regions full of water, islands, and isolated shorelines. Practical endurance runs around 3 hours with comfortable reserve, enough for weekend outings. In the context of American pilots over 60 years old, it fits as pure leisure aircraft, capable of transforming any region full of lakes into a huge airport with unlimited runway options. The obvious compromise lies in tighter useful load and maintenance of amphibious systems, which always add inspection points and weight. In exchange, the owner gains operational flexibility that no land model offers. But across the Atlantic, European engineers took a completely different approach, building something focused purely on speed rather than water capability, creating a machine that makes this amphibian look slow despite burning similar fuel. At the opposite philosophical extreme stands one of the fastest ultralights ever produced in Europe. The Ryzen 915IS was designed around the turbocharged Rotax 915IS engine, producing 141 horsepower, with the clear objective of extracting maximum possible speed within category weight limits. Carbon fiber fuselage with extremely clean shapes, retractable gear, and laminar flow wing profile explain reported cruise speeds around 175 knots at cruise power. Even so, stall remains around 50 knots, which is surprising for such a fast machine. Empty airframe stays light thanks to use of pre-impregnated carbon in most of the structure, allowing reinforcements only where loads actually demand. Electric retractable landing gear, variable pitch propeller, and sophisticated engine control systems place this model at complexity level closer to certified aircraft of superior category. Interior, generally configured with complete glass cockpit, side sticks, and refined finish, reinforces this impression. This is not a simple flying club aircraft. It is a fast travel machine for experienced owners who understand complex systems. Engine management requires attention to temperatures and continuous power, but remains within what pilots accustomed to modern avionics expect from turbocharged operations. For an older American pilot thinking about one aircraft for the rest of life, this European represents the choice of someone who prioritizes fast displacement between states, paved airports, and high cruise flights. Entry price, complexity, and need for shop familiar with advanced composites are the more demanding side of the equation. Yet back in the United States, one manufacturer took a completely different philosophy, building something that balances European refinement with American practicality and metal construction that any traditional shop can maintain. Among American designs, this one has consolidated as one of the most balanced for those wanting something practical, economical, and durable. The Vans RV-12IS is a low-wing metal aircraft, 2 seats side by side, within light sport aircraft category limits, using Rotax 912IS engine with 100 horsepower and electronic fuel injection. Traditional aeronautical aluminum structure, with bolted wings and riveted fuselage, follows the proven philosophy of other brand designs, but scaled for maximum weight of 1,320 pounds. Stall occurs around 44 knots, with flaps lowered for landing configuration. This places cost per hour at a very attractive level for those intending to fly frequently. Relatively large wing, combined with generous profile, guarantees takeoffs and landings on moderately short runways without needing to enter the more extreme world of rough dirt strip aircraft designed for backcountry operations. A strong point is ease of maintenance within the United States. Any shop accustomed to working on classic metal aircraft immediately understands the structural logic, and the Rotax engine is widely known. Airframe parts come from Vans itself with industrial quality and extensive documentation, and the design is offered both in kit form and as ready-built aircraft by some authorized assembly centers for customers who prefer factory completion. In the cabin, ergonomics favor older pilots, relatively easy access, side-by-side seats, panel that accepts from analog instruments to complete glass cockpit. Stability in flight, combined with still precise controls, pleases those seeking something comfortable for light touring, recreational training, or frequent local flights. For an American owner who wants a single aircraft for many years, it represents the rational choice. Neither the most flashy nor the slowest, but probably one that accumulates the most real flight hours over time. Meanwhile, in Europe, designers created something that takes classic tube and fabric construction, but adds modern materials, creating versatility this all-metal design cannot match. This European high-wing design mixes classic welded steel tube solutions with light wings covered in modern fabric, and in some versions, composite parts. The EUROFOX normally uses Rotax 912 engine with 80 or 100 horsepower, maintaining very contained empty weight, which generates excellent power-to-weight ratio. The result is an aircraft with docile behavior at low speed, stall well down around 35 knots, and short takeoffs and landings on grass or reasonably prepared dirt strips without demanding extreme pilot skills. Cruise speed typically sits around 100 to 110 knots, with real fuel consumption often below 4 gallons per hour in economical configuration. This is not an extreme speed machine, but rather one of global efficiency. Small structural mass, simple maintenance, capability to operate on smaller runways and low operating costs. Folding wings allow reducing span to store in reduced space or transport on trailer. Interesting solution for rural properties or airports with expensive hangar rent that makes storage costs prohibitive. Landing gear can be tricycle or conventional, depending on owner preference. In the tailwheel version with larger tires, the aircraft gains real capability to operate on less prepared surfaces, without reaching the extreme of models designed exclusively for bush use. Modern Oratex-type fabric on many units eliminates traditional paint, reduces weight, and simplifies repairs with heat-applied patches that mechanics can complete in field conditions. Inside, the simple side-by-side cabin with large windowed area pleases those who like flying slow, appreciating scenery below. Panels can be basic or include digital screens, keeping the aircraft adaptable to different pilot profiles and budget levels. Yet across the Atlantic in America, builders took low-wing composite approach, creating something sportier that delivers more aggressive handling for pilots who want excitement rather than just utility and grass strip capability. Among low-wing light sport aircraft produced in the United States, this one stands out for more sporting temperament than typical trainers. The Lightning LS-1 uses in most examples the Jabiru 6-cylinder opposed engine with about 120 horsepower, air-cooled. Composite fuselage weighs little, maintaining empty weight at quite low level for the category, which explains cruise around 130 knots at cruise power settings. Stall sits around 45 knots, which guarantees comfortable margins on approach without making landings overly fast. Low wing cantilever design without external struts reduces parasitic drag and contributes to cleaner, more modern visual appearance. Fixed landing gear, normally with fairings, was maintained on purpose to avoid complexity of retractable systems, favoring maintenance and robustness in daily operation, slightly above some competitors with Rotax engines, however compensated by higher cruise speed when you look at distance covered in same amount of fuel burned. In the cabin, pilot position is lower and more enveloping, with short center stick and ergonomics aimed at those who like feeling direct response and controls. Smaller and firmer control surfaces confer a sensation of miniature sport plane, requiring careful coordination but rewarding with precise and pleasant flight in calm air. Despite this, it remains within an envelope of docile enough for more tranquil two-person touring flights, without intimidating less experienced pilots. From a maintenance standpoint, the Jabiru demands respect for specific recommendations on oil, warm-up procedures, and supervision of cylinder head temperature, but in return offers relatively simple installation without liquid coolant radiators. Composite airframe demands shop comfortable with this type of material, however lacks rivets and multiple joints that metal aircraft possess, creating fewer points for corrosion. But in Europe, Swedish engineers pushed composite technology even further, building something so aerodynamically refined it makes this American design look conservative despite similar engine power available. From the European side of the scale, this Swedish carbon fiber design represents the apex of combining lightness and speed in the light category. The BLACKWING BW635RG typically equips with turbocharged Rotax 915IS engine, providing generous power for an extremely aerodynamic airframe with retractable landing gear and wing of great profile refinement. In cruise, reported speeds reach 170 knots or more, maintaining consumption within typical range of Rotax engines at this power when operated in economical mode around 2.1 gallons per hour. Narrow fuselage, smooth transitions between wing and junctions, and care with each external line make clear the focus on minimizing parasitic drag. Even so, the design seeks maintaining reasonably benign low-speed characteristics, with high lift devices and wing geometry permitting landings and takeoffs on runways with moderate length. Maximum weight follows European advanced ultralight rules, around 1,320 pounds, allowing 2 occupants, fuel, and some baggage without exceeding limits. Inside, the cabin has finish clearly aimed at demanding audience. Complete glass cockpit, sophisticated autopilot option, ergonomically well-sculpted seats, and acoustic isolation superior to average light sport aircraft. This reinforces sensation of being in something much closer to fast certified touring aircraft, only with operating and maintenance costs still in orbit of light engines and compact structure that keeps expenses reasonable. Naturally, systems complexity increases. Retractable gear, variable pitch propeller, turbo engine with electronic management require operational discipline and maintenance in shops that understand these components well. For experienced American pilot seeking 2-seat Gran Turismo, willing to accept this complexity in exchange for crossing large distances quickly, this European model becomes serious candidate as single long-term aircraft. Yet, back in the United States, manufacturers recognized not everyone wants that complexity, building high wing metal designs that traditional mechanics can maintain anywhere in the country without specialized composite training. This American high wing metal design represents well the American reading of light sport category, aimed at training in tranquil touring flights over familiar countryside terrain. The COLT-S uses Rotax 912IS engine with 100 horsepower, mounted in front of a riveted aluminum fuselage with high wing supported by struts for simplicity. Stall sits around 35 knots thanks to generous wing profile and well-dimensioned flaps that provide good slow flight characteristics for student pilots learning to land. In cruise, speeds run around 110 knots, maintaining contained consumption in range of 1.1 to 1.3 gallons per hour, making it economical for frequent flying. The side-by-side cabin is especially interesting for those who already flew certified training aircraft. Wide doors, relatively vertical panel, higher seat position, and very good visibility downward and to the sides, facilitating both instruction and recreational flights at low altitude. Panel frequently comes equipped with 2 digital screens, radio, transponder, and in some cases simple autopilot, offering modern environment without exaggerating in complexity or intimidation. In maintenance, use of aluminum and classic construction technique facilitates life of certified shops accustomed to fleets like Cessna and Piper that dominate American training environment entirely. The Rotax engine is well known in light sport environment and receives ample support within United States, making cost and parts availability more predictable for long-term ownership planning scenarios. Yet across the ocean in Europe, German engineers took high-wing composite approach, creating something with sleeker lines and more modern cabin feel that appeals to different sensibilities entirely today. Among high-wing composite designs that gained space in American market, this German aircraft became one of the most recognized for combining European refinement with practical light sport performance. The flight design, CTLSi, uses Rotax 912IS engine with 100 horsepower, associated with fiber airframe featuring smooth shapes, relatively wide cabin, and fared tricycle gear reducing drag. Cruise speeds stay in range of 110 to 115 knots, with real consumption around 4 to 4.8 gallons per hour in economical mode that makes cross-country flights economically viable. The moderate aspect ratio wing, equipped with flaperons, confers low stall around 38 to 40 knots, which facilitates operations on smaller runways and slower approaches without demanding extreme skill. Intensive use of composites allows very smooth external surfaces, reducing drag and helping performance with same power plant used in metal rivals that cannot achieve such aerodynamic cleanliness with riveted construction. On many examples, whole airframe ballistic parachute is factory installed, reinforcing image of concern with active safety that appeals particularly to older pilots and their families worried about emergency scenarios. Inside, sensation is close to a well-equipped modern car. Comfortable seats, reasonable shoulder space, ample visibility, and panel almost always configured with 2 large screens and advanced navigation integration today. Composite maintenance requires specific techniques and materials. However, the brand established support network and well-structured documentation, making repairs manageable for qualified shops across the country without issues. For older American pilot who wants something with 21st century aircraft appearance, comfortable and efficient, this European model is a very strong option within light sport category available in United States market currently, But back in the United States, some builders never abandoned romantic appeal of traditional fabric-covered taildragger designs that remind pilots of aviation's golden era, when flying was simpler and closer to Earth beneath the wings. Among modern reinterpretations of the classic training and lightbush aircraft, this version produced in the United States brings original Cub spirit to contemporary light sport category for nostalgic pilots seeking tradition. The AL-3. Legend Cub adopts welded steel tube structure covered with fabric, high wings with strong lift profiles, and conventional landing gear with tailwheel, all with dimensions and weight adjusted to 1,320-pound category limit that governs light sport aircraft regulations in America completely. On many examples, the chosen engine is Continental or Lycoming, with about 100 horsepower providing power. Performance focuses on low speed capability, stall around 35 knots, and capability to take off and land in short distances when configured with larger tires and adequate propeller for backcountry operations if desired. Typical cruise speed stays between 80 and 90 knots, with consumption varying according to engine and power used, but generally remaining economical for the performance delivered in bush flying missions and grass strip operations. This is not a machine made to cover large distances quickly, but rather to fly low, land on grass fields, farms, and simple strips where certified aircraft fear to tread due to insurance and liability concerns about rough surfaces. The tandem cabin, with pilot in front and passenger behind, maintains operational DNA of classic Cubs from history. For American pilot around 60 years old who learned to fly in conventional gear aircraft or always dreamed of it, this model represents direct link with golden era of light aviation when flying was adventure rather than transportation. From a maintenance standpoint, shops accustomed to working with old Pipers feel at home with tube and fabric construction that dominated aviation for decades before aluminum monocoque became standard in certified aircraft production entirely. But for those seeking European elegance combined with modern efficiency rather than nostalgic throwback designs, Italian manufacturers created something that blends beauty with performance in ways that make traditional American designs look plain. To close the European side with something focused on elegance and recreational use, this Italian low wing offers an attractive combination of comfort, aesthetics, and efficiency that appeals to discriminating pilot buyers. The TECNAM ASTORE uses Rotax 912 IS with 100 horsepower, mounted in metal and composite airframe with smooth lines and careful finish reflecting Italian design sensibility in every curve and surface. Cruise speeds stay around 115 to 120 knots, making it efficient for longer trips without excessive fuel burn over distance. The low wing, with well-rounded leading edge and efficient flaps, maintains stall around 35 knots with landing configuration, allowing operations on relatively short runways for a touring aircraft in this category. Maximum weight follows light sport limit, ensuring 2 occupants and light baggage with reasonable fuel margin for trips covering several hundred nautical miles without requiring stops that interrupt flight rhythm entirely. Inside, the clearly Italian design stands out. Fluid panel, curved surfaces, comfortable seats, use of leather and materials, pleasant to touch in many configurations that appeal to pilots appreciating refined cabin environments. Glass cockpit with 2 screens, navigation integration, radio and autopilot is practically standard on recent units, providing pleasant environment for 2-person touring flights covering significant distances in comfortable surroundings. Maintaining this model in operation for American owner requires attention to brand support network in the country, but use of Rotax engine simplifies mechanical part considerably compared to exotic European power plants requiring specialists. In a choice of single aircraft for many years, this European fits as balanced option for those wanting comfort, refined appearance, and adequate performance without needing extreme runways or record speeds, just pleasant, predictable flying. These 10 aircraft represent 2 distinct philosophies. American designs prioritize simplicity and maintenance accessibility, while European models focus on aerodynamic refinement and speed. Your choice depends on mission, available runways, and whether you value tradition or technology. If you enjoyed this comparison, hit that like button and subscribe for more aviation content. Drop a comment, American simplicity or European performance. Watch the videos on the screen and continue with us. Bye-bye.